Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1192B, and today's date is January 31st, 2017, and the title of the episode is Something Was Buried in the 2017 NDAA, which former President Obama signed. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. I placed a new interview with Charles Nenner on the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel. So if you go over to YouTube and you type in X22 Report Spotlight, it'll bring you right over to the video. Or you can come over to the X22Report.com site, scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, you'll see the video there, and you can play it on the site. Or you can go to newssentinel.com. Same thing, scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, you'll see the video there, and you can play it right on the site. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, we can see the elite. They are scrambling. They don't know what to do. Trump is moving very, very quickly, signing executive orders and moving forward with what he's doing. Because most presidents, when they come into office, they normally take it easy the first couple of days. They don't do much. They make appearances. They go to meetings. But we can see Trump, he is pushing forward. And the elite, they don't know what to do with this. The corporate opposition media, they don't know what to do with this. And we can see right now the Democrats, well, they're blocking all his nominees, and they're making it very, very difficult for Trump. And right now, I believe he only has 2 that were confirmed. The rest, they're not confirmed as of yet. Now, at this point in time, Obama almost had almost all of his nominees confirmed. So we see right now there are major problems. Now, we know that Trump put forth this executive order where it temporarily banned individuals from certain countries. Now, I see the corporate media, they're out there, and they are really pushing this very, very hard, that he's banning Muslims, and they keep using the term Muslims, and they keep going on. And this is really from, and we discussed this yesterday, from Obama's immigration orders. And they just attached this onto his. And what we're seeing right now in the executive order, actually, there's no mention of religion, Muslim, or anything like that. That just names countries. And it looks like the acting attorney general, which was under Obama, Sally Yates, she didn't want to follow along with this. And Trump fired her and now is bringing on Dana Boente to take her place right now as acting attorney general. And we can see that these individuals, they are doing whatever they possibly can to make it very, very difficult for Trump to do anything. Now, right now, Trump, he's like in limbo, because you have the Republican Party, you have the Democratic Party, and he doesn't really relate to either. He's kind of like independent from both, because there are many in the Republican Party that don't like him whatsoever. They like to see him gone. And we know the Democrats, well, they don't like him at all. And the elite, well, guess what? They would like him out also. But what's very interesting is, like every politician, politicians always seem to lie. And they always like to get on board with what's happening right now and build it up. And we see this a lot. And they keep forgetting that there's a thing called the internet, where we can look back in time and we can find the different articles, we can find their speeches, we can find what they said, we can find videos. And then we have Chuck Schumer, who's out there, and, you know, he's saying that this is ridiculous. He's saying Trump's actions are mean-spirited and un-American. And he's joining the bandwagon of everyone saying that this isn't right. But if we go back in time, go back to November 2015, the same Chuck Schumer said that a halt of Syrian refugees may be necessary after the Paris attack. And this was reported in The Hill, where it states Senator Charles Schumer, the third-ranking member of the Senate Democratic leadership, on Tuesday said, it may be necessary to halt the resettlement of Syrian refugees in the United States. We might have to put a ban on who's coming in here. Now, like I said, they continually lie They forget that you can go back in time. We can hear their speeches, what they promised. And when we look at all these politicians, they never keep their promises. They always jump on the bandwagon, whichever is popular at the time. Now, Trump, I have to say, he's doing everything that's completely unpopular right now, because we can see throughout the corporate media, they are pushing their agenda, letting the world know that we don't like what he's doing. Now, this doesn't mean that the people of America don't like what he's doing. It's just that this is what's coming out of the corporate media. Now, the alternative media, well, they're out there. They're saying completely something different than the corporate media. And we know that the corporate media made a very big deal about the LGBTQ protections and the rights in the workplace. And we know that he removed a page. Well, he removed a lot of pages from the website when he became president, but this is very normal for a president to do. And Donald Trump on Tuesday said that he's not going to roll back federal workplace protections for gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender people at all. And he's keeping what Obama did at this point. He's going to remain, everything's going to remain intact. And we can see those people who were protesting and out there saying that he's going to do all these things. So far, he hasn't done any of them. And all these individuals who are out there saying that, he is banning everyone. This is a temporary ban. Google is out there, and they are filing an amicus. And an amicus is briefs are filed by parties who are not litigants in a case, but want to offer arguments or information to the judge. In other words, these 10 companies like Airbnb, Netflix, and many others, well, they don't want to bring a lawsuit because they're playing both sides right now. They don't want to make Trump angry. They don't want to make their liberal clients either by being perceived as doing nothing. They want to keep them happy. So they're playing both sides of the parties here. And they're trying to show that, yes, we support this. But again, this is a temporary ban. This is not for life. And I'll say it again, and I've said it many times. We need to go to the source of the problem. And the source of the problem is what the U.S. government, the central bankers, have been doing over the many years. We have been bombing these countries, killing women and children, keeping their countries in war, which created the refugee crisis. I mean, we see all these people picketing now. Where were we back in the days of Clinton, Obama, when they were out there bombing these countries, when there were women and children being executed, when hundreds of thousands of people were dying, when all these people had no place to live for many years? Where was everyone picketing to say to stop the war? Where were all these people? Nowhere to be found. Now, all of a sudden, they're out there. Actually, the first term of Obama, he deported more illegal aliens than I think any other president. And then his second term, he had an about face, which is very interesting. Now, we know that Soros, he funds NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and he has these organizations all around the world. Russia threw these out, and we're seeing a lot of other countries that are starting to realize that Soros is behind the overthrow of elected governments, the Arab Springs, and many other things. He uses his money to push his agenda of a new world order, globalism. And we can see that out in Hungary. We see that the Hungarian foreign minister, he is accusing Soros of seeking to bring down his government with NGOs that Soros is funding. And he is cracking down on all of his non-governmental organizations, and he is throwing them out of the country. And we can see right now that people and countries are starting to wake up, and they're starting to realize what's really happening here. Now, out in Syria, we see something very interesting. The Syrian Democratic Forces, which that group, the Syrian Democratic Forces, is not part of Syria. It was renamed by the U.S. These are the moderate rebels. These are the terrorists. And the U.S. under Obama with John Kerry, they decided, we need to give them a really great name and have everyone fooled about this is the real group that's going to take control of Syria. Now, they are saying that they received armored vehicles from the U.S., and they're saying that it all came from Donald Trump, which is hard to believe because Donald Trump did not campaign on supporting the Syrian Democratic Forces to remove Assad. And we're starting to see that most likely this type of equipment that was shipped over to Syria to these terrorist groups, they were already in transit, and we see the corporate media trying to build this up. Now, that doesn't mean that maybe Trump did have something to do with this, but we'll have to wait and see how this actually turns out. Now, something very interesting coming out of the Iraqi Army intelligence, they're saying that an American Chinook helicopter landed in the Al Jazeera region that is controlled by the Islamic State. And what they did there was they delivered food, aid to the Islamic State. They took some of the commanders and members away from the region. So this tells us that there are still those factions within the government, which we knew they still existed. They are still pushing their agenda, protecting their paid mercenaries, protecting what they've been fighting for a very long time. And most likely that equipment that was delivered to the Syrian Democratic Forces, which they're just terrorists, most likely came from these individuals, the neocons, the elite. And they're putting out the story that Trump is supporting them. Now, we'll have to wait and see, like I said once again, that we'll have to see if this is true or not. But most likely, I'm going to say this is not true. Now, we see the president of Lebanon is saying that Assad will remain in office and all the refugees in Lebanon must go home to Syria. And actually, that's what should happen. Assad is the elected leader of Syria, and all the refugees should go back to the country. They never wanted to leave in the first place. They didn't ask for this war. All of these countries, Lebanon, Libya, Yemen, they did not want war in their countries. The United States brought war to their countries to push their agenda to keep the petrodollar alive. And remember, that keeps their system continually going. It allows them to have control over the world. It makes them very rich. And the rest of the world suffers. The people of the United States suffer, as we've been seeing. So these elite, these central bankers, they went into all these countries, killed hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, women and children. And then they had these other individuals that were still living there. They had no place to live. They became refugees, all to keep their system going. This is what they've done. And then they put out fake news just yesterday saying that Assad, he is ill, he has a brain tumor, his health is deteriorating. And today we see a video was released showing that he's absolutely fine. There is absolutely nothing wrong with him. Now, we understand why they were putting this out there, because we see that Russia, well, they completed a draft version of the Syrian constitution, and Russia's saying, listen, you don't have to take it the way we wrote it. You can take it and use it as a guide and create your own constitution. But we can see within that constitution, it says that Assad will remain for 7 years, and then they'll have a new election. And this is a problem for the elite, because their goal is to remove Assad. That's been their goal all along. Everything else was just smoke and mirrors. And their goal, it's moving further and further away, and it looks like they will not be able to hit it unless they do something drastic, which they might do. They might try an assassination attempt on Assad's life. They might have an event in Syria to try to switch things up. But we'll have to wait and see how desperate they become. We see the U.S. Army, they're sending tanks this week to the countries right along Russian borders. The M1A2 Abrams, well, they're going to be going to Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania, and they will remain there right on the border until NATO puts their other program into operation, and that is called Deterrent Force, and that's supposed to happen sometime this spring. We see that in the 2017 NDAA, there was something buried within that document, and Obama signed it into law 2 days before Christmas. And what this document entails is that U.S. intelligence agencies, well, they're working with the country's military forces to update previous assessments about a possible nuclear attack against Russia and China. And this is being conducted by the Pentagon Strategic Command and the Office of Director of National Intelligence. The study is trying to find out whether the Russian and Chinese leadership could survive a nuclear strike and keep operating. Now, this is being championed by Republican Representative Michael Turner, and the study is also aimed at finding the location and description of above and underground facilities important to the political and military leadership and the facilities that they'll use to operate out of during crisis and wartime. Now, Navy Captain Brooke DeWalt, a spokesman of the Strategic Command, confirmed that the study was ongoing, but said it was premature to release any details at this point. And we do understand that the elite, they are trying to push war with either Russia or China. It looks like it's going to be China at this point, because we can see right now they realize that Trump is talking to Putin. That's not going to work out. So they're switching gears and they're moving towards China. Now, they don't care which country it is. They understand that all the players are the same. They understand that Russia, China, they're going to be on one side, and the U.S. is going to be on the other side with the coalition forces, with NATO. And we see right now that they're going to be pushing this. Now, this was there for a reason. No matter who is president, the central bankers, the elite, they are still trying to reach their goal. And remember what their goal is. It doesn't mean they're going to reach it, but they're going to try. And they needed everything in place. And we see right now, they want the population reduced. They want control of the people. They want the rights moved from the country's constitution up to the UN, which then they become privileges. They want to have one currency, and they want to control the people. And the only way they can do all of this is to get rid of the systems that we have now. War would do this. People would forget about what we had in the past, because once the war was ended, there'd be a reduced population. There would be no monetary system. They'd have to say we need to restart it. All debt most likely will be erased, and everything would start again. This is what they're trying to accomplish. Now they're having problems. It doesn't mean they're not going to continually try to reach their goal, because we can see right now they're still in control of certain aspects of the government. They're in control of the monetary system throughout the world. They still have a lot of power. Even though Trump is writing a lot of executive orders, the power still lays with the central bank, with the shadow government. And we can see right now, they're going to be pushing their agenda until they get what they want. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.